Exercise 3. In this exercise, if you'd like, go to the Vertani1.com webpage, and in there you'll go to the instructional manuals, and you could grab the Autodesk Inventor instructional manual. If you click on it, it'll take you to this manual. I'm looking at page 34 here. It's actually the end of the lesson, but it was to show you what our goal is today, is to make this ratchet that you see here. And there's a number of steps involved in making it. And so it's going to be exercise 3. So we're in Autodesk Inventor 2016. We're going to go ahead, and this is the interface. We're going to go ahead and click on Part File to start a new part. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Start 2D Sketch. I'm going to select the XY plane, and I'm going to begin off by creating, if we looked at that part, there's really 3 main components to it. There's the head, the transition section, and then the handle. It really doesn't matter which one you work on first. There might just be faster, quicker ways depending upon which way you take. But we're going to go ahead and focus on the head, which is really the most complex part of it. So I'm going to go here to the line tool, and I'm going to turn on my center line tool. And on the origin, I'm just going to drag up a vertical center line. We'll make it approximately an inch or so. I'm going to hit escape on the keyboard. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the line tool, and then don't forget to deactivate the center line tool. So click on that to deactivate it, because if you draw everything in the center line, nothing's going to be able to be extruded, so just be aware of that. Okay, down here, actually right about here, right above that line, you could go ahead and click and drag a short little line, maybe 0.3, 0.4 length with a slight angle like mine's showing, about 104, 105 degrees. That's pretty good. And notice I'm a distance away from the actual center line that I drew. I'm going to click and hit escape. That makes up at least 1/2 of an angle that's going to consist of the head. And I want to mirror that over. So I'm going to go to the mirror tool, and I'm going to go ahead and select the line I want to mirror. Go up to this little button here, Mirror Line, and select the vertical center line that you drew. Hit Apply, and done. And now we have a symmetric mirrored entity on the right side. From there, it's easy now to just go to the Tangent Arc tool. Now, if you're wondering, why didn't I just draw circles? Notice by doing it this method, using this method, I don't have to trim anything, and that reduces time. So using the Tangent Arc tool now, I can just click and drag over the top and arc and connect it down here. And same with the bottom. Click on the bottom and connect it to the other side. We can now add some dimensions. And according to the book, this is actually supposed to be 0.6 at the bottom. And then the top arc is 0.75, if I'm correct. And perhaps I should look at the manual. Yep, that's correct. And finally, there's a dimension between both centers. Now you could select both arcs and just drag to the right and click to drop it, and that needs to be 0.75. One last thing we might want to do is lock that point down right here to the crosshairs, the center of the crosshairs. So I'm going to hit escape. Now if you can't see the little point, move your pointer up and down, you'll see it. Like mine's in green here. This is the default color. I can just click and drag with my left mouse button. I'm holding it down, not letting it go. Drag it down. See how I'm moving up and down? Get it to where it snaps. See how it snaps? I get the green dot. Keep moving it up and down until you see the green dot appear, and then release it. And now it's fully defined. It has all the dimensions needed, as well as it has all the relationships completed. So from here we could go to 3D Model and Extrude. Now it should automatically select the profile. If you didn't create a perfect profile, you might have to select inside it somewhere so you'll see it highlight. But if it's a water type boundary condition, you're in good shape. It should extrude automatically. Well, here's the generic quick launch buttons, but you might want to click on this little arrow here, and let's take a look at some of the higher end functionality here. First of all, we do want it to be symmetric. And according to the book, we need to extrude it 1 inch, and we're going to add 7 degrees of draft, or taper as it's called. So it's at 1 inch. You go to more, and then go ahead and, I think we actually have to type in -7. Yeah, there we go. And that's the taper, and you see it puts draft on it. Now, why is taper or draft important? Well, with molded parts, or in this case, a drop forging, it has to have a little draft so that it could pull easily out of the mold. Otherwise, if it's a straight flat base, the actual tool gets stuck in the mold. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit OK from here. All right, at this point, we could go ahead and now we could select this face for our next entity to draw, and just click on this little create sketch tool. And now what we need to do is offset these edges to the inside of this face, because we're going to make a recess and cut it down, and it's going to be a little cover plate for the gears that are going to be inside here. So if you go to offset, you'll see that you might have a difficult time selecting it. In earlier versions, pre-2015, you used to be able to select it. I don't know what happened, but now you have to go to Project Geometry. So click on Project Geometry and select the face first. Now, after you see that little yellow highlight, now you could go ahead and go to Offset, select the edge, and drag it in. And the offset needs to be, let's go to our book here, 0.125. So get it inside and type in 0.125 and hit enter. Again, don't forget the project geometry tool is necessary sometimes. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and go to 3D model and extrude. Select that inner face there, that boundary inside. Now we want to remove material, so over here is the cut tool. But we want a depth, which is specified in the book as 0.1. And hit OK. And now we have our recess. Let's select the floor of that recess, and we're going to build a pocket. So hit Create Sketch. Now go to the Circle tool, and right at the bottom there, the center, click and drag out a circle. And I'm not going to dimension it just yet, because I actually forgot what the dimension is. Okay, it's 0.35 for the radius and 0.5. Now those are radiuses, so that means after the cut takes place, we'll see a radius appear. So the next one, we'll go ahead and find the center here. Now if you need to find the center, you just move the pointer near the outer ring, the concentric ring there, and it will, you don't click on it, just move it there, and it will wake up that center point. Drag this out, and go ahead and drag it to where, see how it coincides, actually goes into the other circle a little bit. Click, and now we're going to use the trim tool. Click on trim up here, that little pair of scissors, and just draw by clicking right here, drag it through, and see how it drags through and removes the intersected geometry. Now we could go to dimension and put that dimension in. That's going to be 0.35. Wow, it was really close. And then this is going to be 0.5. Now we could go to 3D model, extrude, and automatically took our profile, so we're in good shape, but we want to have it cut material again. So select remove material, and just double check the manual here, and we need to go 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75 deep. Hit OK. All right, to rotate, shift and middle mouse button, look down into the center of that pocket or down in there, select that face and start a sketch. We're going to go ahead and draw 2 holes or circles in there. So click here, and this will be 0.3, 0.35 I believe. Let's just double check that. It's actually 0.375, so my mistake, that's all right. And then remember the little trick, wake up the center, just move to the outer edge. There we go, and 0.375. Now what we can do, we could eliminate the extra dimension here just by clicking on that 0.35 and hitting delete, because it was wrong anyway. And we can now go over here to the equal constraint and select both geometries, and it will automatically make them equal. Thus we only have one dimension that controls it. If we ever change that 0.375, it updates both automatically. Alright, now we could go to 3D model, extrude, and select both of those profiles and select cut. And instead of distance, we want it to always go through all. So just all, and hit OK. Alright, and there is the head of our ratchet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to offset a plane. We're going to create a new plane and offset it at the same time. So first of all, we have to decide what we want to use for a plane to offset. You could use flat surfaces to offset, or you could actually go in and find one of your existing planes, like in this case the XZ plane. Go ahead and select it. And then go over here to the plane tool, and you'll see offset from plane. It's the second one down. Go ahead and click on it. Now we want it to go in the opposite direction, so we could type in -4 and hit enter. Again, use the -4 to create that plane, and then you should see it floating down below. Now we could click on that plane and start a sketch. And from here we're going to draw the transition section. So right at the origin in the center, click and drag out a circle and type in 0.5 for a dimension. Go to 3D model and extrude. And now if we were just to drag this and try and find where it intersects, it might be a little challenging, because if we look in, we might be actually cutting into it. Actually, I got pretty good there. Didn't need to. But notice there might actually be not cutting into it, but adding material into an area that we don't want to. So there's other options in here. Let's look. How about to next? What that automatically does, it tells the geometry to stop when it reaches the next surface, or surfaces in this case, and merge with it, but don't go beyond it. So it's a nice feature, to next. Go ahead and hit OK. Now we might want to hide this plane. We don't need to see it anymore. So right click on it and find visibility. Now notice I'm right clicking on the edge of the plane. Don't right click in the center of it, on the edge, and uncheck visibility. Now we're going to go ahead and select the XY plane and start create a new sketch on it. We're going to create the handle section now. Now I'm going to go to the rectangle tool. I'm just going to use the 2-point. Now there's several different types of rectangles. There's different ways of doing this. I'm just going to show you a little trick here. Over here on the right, I'm going to draw out my rectangle. I'm going to make it 1 by 4. And then I'm going to go to the line tool and find center line again, and find the midpoint of this and just drag it up. And I'm going to make it 3.75 in length. I'm going to hit escape. Now what you can do with this is really kind of cool. After you hit escape, you just grab the vertex, which is the tip of that 0.375 point. Let's get rid of that. I don't like that there. And just drag this to the origin, which is that little center there. And it should snap. You might have to get in there and just double check. Try and drag it away. If it doesn't drag away, you got it. Alright, now at this point, we just located the center of the handle. So we're locked in, ready to go. Let's go to 3D model, extrude. And again, we want to extrude in both directions, so select symmetric. The height is going to be 0.75 thick. And don't forget, under more, we want a -7 taper. Okay, from this point we could go to the fillet tool, and we could start adding some of our fillets. We're going to go with 0.1 radius around these edges here and here, as well as the 4 hard edges of the handle. Be careful not to accidentally select the tangent edge, or not tangent edge, but the parting line edges. That's what they call it, a parting line, where basically the mold would split into 2 sections while this is being manufactured. Go to the fillet tool again, and let's change it to 0.06 and select this edge here. Notice it stops the fillet when it comes to a sharp edge, because tangent propagation is turned on automatically, which means that wherever there's tangency, it propagates around. But if there's no tangency there, it doesn't. And select these edges as well. Hit OK. Alright, for all intents and purposes, our ratchet is complete. If you want to, actually, you could even transition it to a material, like go ahead and select generic, drag this up. Let's go with aluminum 6061, even though that would be very impractical for this type of a part. But anyway, you could see that it's actually adopted some of the characteristics and such. What we're going to do next, though, is let's take a look how to put text in on this face. Go ahead and select this face and start a new sketch. What we're going to do is draw a line, but make sure it's a center line or construction. Either one. We'll go with construction this time. It's a little gentler line. Click and drag this across. Now I'm just eyeballing this. I'm going to make it 3 inches in length. And basically, just like in the old drafting days, you draw a line and you write your text over it. It's kind of the same idea. You have to draw a line so you know where the text is going to be. Now that you go up here, there's text and there's geometry text. Select geometry text and select that line. And now go ahead and type in whatever you like. But before you start typing, perhaps change the size, maybe to 0.24, because our handle is about 1 inch and we're kind of centered there. We could actually go a bit larger, I suppose. We could type in maybe 0.375. And then instead of tomahawk, you could go with something else. But you might want to just stick with Toma. And that would be it. So now we could go ahead and type in a value. Also, notice up here you can flip it direction inside, counterclockwise, clockwise, position outside, inside, centered, justification. Let's go with that. And now we just click in here in this box and we'll type in, Inventor. Hit OK. Now we can see it's right there. It's rather small. I thought I'd set that larger, but let me double click on it again. Yeah, for some reason it didn't take. Let's type in 0.375 again here. Oh, before you do that, you have to select the text. I forgot about that. Select the text. Now you can type in 0.375. And there we go. Now if you want to adjust this location, you just grab this little center line that you drew from the end and just, you could eyeball it. You could drop in dimensions to locate it. Do whatever you want. Okay, now with that done, you could double click on it if you need to change it. Here's one additional thing. Maybe I want to add slant. So you could go over here to tile size. I don't recommend using the bold all the time. I've had some issues from time to time with bold where it doesn't want to extrude it after it's done. But go ahead and select this and now go to 3D model and extrude. Got to select it again. There we go. And you can see it's extruding it. Now the curvy ones that intersect with each other, just be aware, those don't work really well on here. You have to spread them out if you're going to do that. And that was all inside that option when you double click on the text. Okay, if you want it embossed, here we can set it to 0.02. And there's embossed text. Perhaps you want it engraved. Select cut. Now it's engraving it. Either one is fine. Go ahead and hit the OK. And let's see. I'm going to edit this. Apparently it's still not flipping the right direction, so I'm going to have to flip this direction down. Hit OK. All right. And there we have our engraved text. Okay, now in the manual that completes this exercise. You can go ahead and save it for later. Save it as capital E3, do a file save as, and then go on to lab 3, and then there's also lab 3B. Let's go ahead and cover those right now. Again, I recommend you do these on your own and then maybe watch the video to help you through, but if you can't figure it out, you can definitely watch the video. That's what they're here for. So I'm going to go to create standard eye part, and I'm going to go to start sketch, and I'm going to sketch this on the XY plane. This part encompasses basically everything we learned from the last one, believe it or not. We'll say, well, how can that be possible? Look at that, it's all in one little body. Well, we have text, we have a rectangle that's centered, we have angled mirrored lines, we have tangent arcs, and we have a non-tangent arc. So we're going to go ahead and focus on how to build this. First of all, start off the same way we did before. Go with the center line, drag it off here, hit escape, and turn off center line. Don't forget to turn that off. Go to the line tool, and now click and drag a little line at an angle, just like so. Hit escape. Remember, we went to mirror from here, select the line you want to mirror, and click on mirror line here, the little button, and select the center line, hit apply, and done. Now we go to tangent arc again. Down at the bottom, only add the tangent arc. Do not add a tangent arc to the top because it's not tangent. Instead, you can use a center point or a 3-point. I'm going to go with a 3-point. I'm going to click across here and drag it out, make it a little bit bigger. See how it's not tangent. It's not smooth right there. We don't want it smooth. It's not the design intent. Now we could go to dimension, click on the bottom arc. This one calls out 0.6. The top one is a 1.5. And then the distance between the two arcs, just select both arcs, needs to be 2. The angle is also given. In this case, you see 35 degrees. So dimension between both of these lines, and in the middle of them, click and type in 35. Just like before, hit escape a couple times and grab the center point of the bottom arc. Drag it up and down until you locate that little green dot to indicate at the crosshairs that you're locking in to the origin. Now you can move on and extrude this. So go to 3D model, extrude. Now here is where we're going to add draft again, but this time we're going to add a significant amount of draft. In this case, 16 degrees. So here with the extrude, we also the thickness is 0.61. Go to more, and the taper is -16. Don't forget the minus. Hit OK. And now we could go to the 3D model, and we could go to fillet and add our fillets. Traditionally, with modelers, the larger fillets are best going in first, and then you go down to the smaller fillets. I found sometimes with different CAD systems it flip-flops. In this case, this is one instance where actually the rules don't apply. If we were to go to fillet here and put in this radius, which is called out at 0.5 on the print, put it on this edge and hit apply, you might get an error message. Hit cancel. Let's go ahead and we'll put in the smaller one first. The smaller one, call that at 0.25. Put that on the front first. Oh, I didn't have to hit OK there. I could have actually added a second one. Now I'll go to 0.5 and put that one on over here. And you'll see it accommodates it. Sometimes the mathematics behind it, which we're not seeing, can't accommodate certain geometry types. Thus, we had to reverse it. It's the trick about filleting. Sometimes flip-flopping them will get it go in. Very tricky stuff. Okay, select this face, start a sketch. And now we're going to go ahead and draw a center hole. So go ahead and find the center. Remember, we broke up the center. Click and drag out that center hole. I believe it's 0.5, maybe not. 1 inch, my mistake. So I'm going to hit escape, type in 1 inch, and now I'm just going to extrude cut that through all. Now select this face, start your next sketch, and this is just like the handle trick. Remember the handle trick. I drew out over here a little rectangle, and we'll go ahead and put in 0.25, and we'll make it like 2 inches, and then we'll take the line tool. Actually, we'll go with center line, and then let's dimension that. Turn off center line. Don't forget to turn that off. You don't have to turn it off at this minute, but just be aware. And then in this case, we see here that actually it's dimensioned 0.25 from the center. So this just needs to be 0.25. Hit escape, grab that little center, drag it over until you get to the center here, and drop it. Don't worry that it intersects in the center. It's going to cut air essentially, so it doesn't matter. Go to 3D model, extrude. We're going to select cut, and it goes down 0.25. All right, now let's flip it around. Oops. Holding shift and the middle button, select this face, start a sketch. Now we have to do the offset. If you remember, instead of going directly to offset like you could previous versions, you now need to go to project first. Select the face. Now you could go to offset, select the outer edge, drag it in, and 0.125 offset. Let me just verify that. 0.1 offset, my mistake. So just find the dimension there. We hit escape there. Let's get that. 0.1. And that gets extruded as a cut. And 0.25 deep with the taper. Now here's the problem. I didn't select the inside shape as well. So for the profile, I need to select that inside face. Otherwise, I'm going to have a little sharp edge there because we're cutting with a taper of -16. 0.25 deep. There we go. So don't make that mistake. All right, finally, we could go ahead and select this face. We need to add the text. So we could select this, and remember, go to project first, then go to offset. Select that. Actually, we don't need to offset that. I'm sorry. We could actually use the arc. And we'll go with center point arc and turn on construction. Click from here to here. See, we get clear across. We could put in a dimension, locate it. I'm just going to let it freely float there. And I'm going to go ahead and go to geometry text. And I'm going to go ahead and type in, I think 0.25 might be better, 0.24. And we'll center justify it. And we'll go up. Now we can type in what we want. In this case, E2. I'm sorry, this is lab 2. Okay. Now, notice it did not justify it as I had expected. Let's see if we oops. We could put in a start angle, I suppose. Let's go with this. Darn it, it's not updating. Okay, so the left alignment seems okay, or right alignment. You could put in a start angle to adjust that if you wanted to. I'm going to leave it as is, hit OK. And now we could go to the 3D model, extrude, select the geometry. We'll emboss it this time. 0.02, hit OK. And now this one's supposed to be brass. So just go up here to it's a generic, and we could go with gold, I suppose, but it's in alphabetical order, so we should be able to find brass. And there it is. Go ahead and save that as L2. Let's continue on and do L2B now. L2B is kind of like a disc, and if we look at that, here it is. So it's going to be a review basically of the exercise 2, which is revolve features. So we're going to draw this profile that you see and then revolve it 360 degrees around. So let's go to standard eye part. Start a sketch. We'll go ahead and use the XY plane. And again, in this case, the center lines really help out. We only need a vertical. We don't need a horizontal, I don't think, at least. Okay, let's go to the line tool. And distance away, click and drag on an angled line, just like you see here. And look at that. I forgot. Hit escape. I forgot to turn off that little button there. Turn off again after you hit escape a couple times. Just make sure it's off. Go back to line. There we go. Draw this parallel. Let's see. I don't know if I could get parallel, but we'll do our best. Drag this out here. Don't worry about the fillet. Drag that there. This goes down a little bit. Again, parallel. I'm getting parallel there. guess I did get parallel. Those little symbols that were popping up. Okay, now at that point, we could go ahead and select dimension and start putting our dimensions in. First of all, there is a hole in the center. And so I'm just going to click on that endpoint to this, and this needs to be 1 inch diameter. And it is giving me a diameter. You can see the dimensioning to the other side, which is good. I can just type in 1 and it's scaled it for me. Okay, width dimension still on. These two are not parallel because it's giving me an angular dimension. So let's go to parallel here and force parallelism between those. Let's see if we could get any addition. Okay, that was already parallel. So we're good. It's just that one. Okay, so we go back here, dimension between these two, and get in between them just like that. And then this one needs to be 0.25 thick. Notice I'm not selecting the endpoints or this one. That's how you get the angled dimension like that. Select these two. I should say parallel dimension. And then this one needs to be 0.375. We also need, let's see, 2.25 from here to here. And then we could put in our height. And that needs to be 1.5 inches. Okay, it might do something scary like that. That's all right. Hit escape and just drag some of these lines. Here, move this out of the way. Drag some of these down. And you see you could fix it pretty easily just by dragging them. Okay. And let's see what else. What am I missing here? 2.25, 1.5, 0.25, 0.25. All right, so a couple more 0.25. So from here to here, from here to here. Okay, it still looks extra long. I don't know if it's maybe my perspective here. 2.25 should be that length. Oh, the angle. That's what it is. The angle needs to be 25 degrees from here to here. Okay. All right, and then I guess that does it. We'll put the fillet in just a minute. Still looks a little funky. Okay, that's all right. Let's revolve this. Go to 3D model. Revolve that around there. Hit the green check. Go to the fillet and put in a 1/2 inch right there. And there we got our saucer. I still think I did something wrong there. It looks a little, might have to edit that sketch. 2.25. 1.5. Just doesn't look to spec. Anyhow, I will have to look at it further and figure out what I did wrong there. But you should get some sort of saucer shape. I'll take a look at what I did with that one shortly. And that concludes exercise 3.